Hi friends, Andrew Carruthers here, Education Director for Samvia. Many of you have seen a brush like this before. It's called a round brush. We know you know what it is. Today what we want to focus on is some of the tips and tricks on how to use this brush to really get a beautiful polish on hair, but also leave a really nice wave pattern. So we're going to be using a brush that maybe you haven't seen, which is our Artist Series Spiral Thermal Brush. This is our small spiral thermal brush. Now, the reason we're going to use a small is because the small brush is going to give us more curl to the hair. And what a lot of times happens when we are doing our coaching on in-salon classes in your salons is we find that when you're working with a round brush, a lot of times you're working with a very large round brush and expecting curl from it. Large round brushes don't create curl. They create smoothness and straighter, more polished hair. If you actually want the hair to twist, you have to put it around a smaller barrel. The spiral thermal brushes have a hybrid of the boar hair bristles and the tourmaline coated polymer bristles. And what that does is it gives us tension, and those ball-tipped polymer bristles, what they do is help to grab the hair and pull it into the boar hair. But you'll also notice that there's a thermal core like our thermal round brushes, so you get a lot of heat out of them, and heat is really important to this technique. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch our mindset, because most of us were taught to work from the base first, then into mid shafts, then into ends. Well, what happens is if you do the base first, then you come out here and you start stretching the hair and you're working on the mid strands. Look at how the base is drying. The base is drying, or sorry, not drying, but cooling in a straight position. So would you agree that hair is forming as it cools? Yes. So as we're doing our round brushing, if we start at the base and we're curling, but then we come out here and start working on our ends, and we're pulling that base straight as it's cooling, that's going to cause the hair to collapse. So our discovery is start at the ends first. So I'm going to put the dryer just on medium for now, just so you can hear well still. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the blow dryer on the ends first. So you can see we're going to work really slow, and even if the dryer is on high airflow, we're going to work at about this same pace, and we're going to work the ends first. Now watch what happens is as I finish with these ends, as I go to the mid strand, I allow those ends to form around the brush. Look, the hair is going to cool in a curled manner. I'm not pulling it straight. So then we come into the mid strand and we work the mid strand. And as we work that mid strand, again, we're allowing the ends we're allowing the ends to wrap around the brush, and so they can cool in that curled pattern. And then the final step is then we come down to the base and we focus on the base. So all the while, the ends and the mid strand are now cooling, curled around the brush. And because it's a smaller round brush, what's going to happen is we're going to get a lot nicer definition to the curl. And because of that boar hair bristle and the thermal core, we're going to get both. We're going to get a really nice curl out of the hair, but we're also going to get a really nice shine and a lot of polish from the boar hair bristle. So you're really getting the hybrid from the brush. You're getting the thermal core, which gives you the curl, and then it gives you the boar hair for the polish. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'm going to do a handful of more sections so you guys can see more of the finished result. All right, so now as these are cooling, I'm gonna leave them alone for a few minutes. And again, that's one of the big mistakes that we see with round brushing, curling, anything, is that people put all this work in and then immediately they start raking their hands through as the hair is still hot. We have to remember the hair is forming as it cools. Someone told me one time it could take up to a half hour for those bonds to completely form. So if you really want them to set in there, leave them alone. Now, once they're cool, then we want to separate them out a little bit. And one of my favorite products for doing this recently is Redken's Dry Shampoo Paste 05. A lot of the looks that we're seeing right now are not as shiny or oily or waxy looking as far as separation goes. They have more of a dry finish to them. And so what's cool about this stuff is that you get the ability to create separation like a paste, but it has a dry shampoo built right into it. So just emulsify that into our hands first. And you can see my hands are shiny, so it does have that kind of little bit of wax texture to it, but because it has the dry shampoo in there as well, it has a more matte finish after it's in the hair, and it doesn't leave the guests feeling oily. So now that we have that fairly well cooled, we're just gonna come through and just gently let our fingers kind of work through the hair. And what we want to be careful of is kind of grabbing a hold of the hair and really pulling on it. We just want to let the product distribute really easily through the hair, so we don't have to grab and push the product into the hair. But what's really awesome about this is that with a blow dry, you can actually get some really beautiful texture in here. And you know, I'd be amiss if I didn't say that part of this is the excellence of that round brush. The thermal core with the boar bristle, it's hard to beat that combination to get polish and shape in the hair. So hopefully you learned a few things about how you're working with your round brushes. If you have any questions, we love to hear from you guys, so make sure you leave us a comment. We want to hear it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Andrew Carruthers, Education Director for Sam Villa.